In the Song of the Jewel Mirror Samadhi, Sokuzan, written in, I think, the 8th century by Dongshan Lianqi, that we chant, this third chant we chant every morning in the morning service. We've been chanting it for a year, a couple years, every day. Lots of good like one-liners in here, but then I can just pick any one. So this is good. Let me comment on this. Not always that easy to understand. Now there are sudden and gradual, talking about the schools. The sudden school, aha, I see it. The journey is over. I have attained enlightenment. Now there are sudden and gradual in which teachings and approaches arise. Once basic approaches are distinguished, then there are guiding rules. So sudden and gradual. So there's a little bit of each. We've all experienced this. We have some kind of a flash of awareness or insight that arises, and it's a contrast to what was going on the rest of the first part of the morning. Then there's some kind of insight into what this is about, some kind of deepening of our awareness. It's unlikely because it's so experiential and because it's such a contrast to what was happening an hour before, it tends to fade. It hasn't gone anywhere. We just focus our attention, and we focus our energy in a different way because we don't understand the energy. We have presumptions about the energy where we think it should do a certain thing. If we realize something and we see it, and we may see on some level, may see that nothing is separate. We may see that we're completely a part of this incredible world. We have all kinds of levels of seeing. So once now there are sudden and gradual, which teachings and approaches arise. And there's a gradual where we might have had some of those insights, which brings us to the cushion because we want to refine that. We want to deepen that. We want to, generally, if you don't have a teacher or if you don't have a lineage, you'll try to meditate and get that back, which is, you're understanding your presumption about how that whole thing manifests is based on separation. So you see no separation, then you go back into separation and try to separate yourself away from everything that is different than the realization, so you can have the realization back, blah, blah, blah. Once basic approaches are distinguished, then there are guiding rules. So once you understand that, once you see what's going on there, then there are guiding rules. And those could be different. They're different, just like in this temple monastery, they're very definite what you do and what you don't do. And it's not like something that is imposed on you. It's something you see and you see, I need this form. I need to do this. Now there are sudden and gradual in which teachings and approaches arise. So there's a gradual understanding also that arises for each person. It's a little different, but arises in the form of seeing that if we don't do much, if we don't add a bunch of energy of pushing or pulling, which we begin to identify as aggression and passion, and if we stay here, stay in these senses, keep the awareness in the present moment, as it is sometimes said, which is, there is no such thing actually. Why it's so difficult to hang on to it. If we do that, then there's a sense of enough continuity there that then the gradual situation starts to happen. Then we actually gradually recondition ourselves to just being here. So there's no way to find the sources. There's no way to find that incredible labyrinth of causes and conditions that go back from each dot in time. There's a dot, like right now, there's just this. You have your body-mind complex, We all have our body-mind complex, and it's operating in a way that is probably doing some grasping, some rejecting, some shutting down. If it's not doing anything like that, then you're just here, and you're here without any credential. There's no confirmation. If there's confirmation, we're right back to, you need to go back to the gradual path. You need to go back and gradually understand what this is. Not easy, and it's as it says in other places here in the sutra. If I can find the line. It's not within the reach of feeling or discrimination. How could it admit of consideration and thought? It's not within the reach of feeling or discrimination. Think with that statement, what that is saying. You can't feel your way into this. In fact, in fiction, feeling actually is a barrier to it. Passion is a barrier to awakening, but it's a barrier in such a way that you don't have to get rid of that, because then we're into warfare. You just have to be aware of it. You just have to be aware that when the emotions, it's not within the reach of feeling or discrimination. So it's not even within the reach of discriminating between this and that, or thinking about, or analyzing, or moving this way and that way, analyzing how this is all working. We're not saying you can't do that. We're not saying that you can't think about it, and you can't. Most of the teachings rest on some kind of foundation of discrimination, of looking at this, looking at that, seeing that there seems to be the five skandhas: form, feeling, perception, concept, or memory, or samskaras, and consciousness, or the six sense fields and their objects. So there's some, we have to sort that out, a little bit of discrimination. But what we tend to do is we tend to overuse it. As soon as we start to see some kind of something that's kind of making sense, we start chewing on the recipe, or we forget all about the scenery around us, and the path, and the birds, and the turtles, and we start looking at the map. And we stop going anywhere. We just start studying the map. And some people might see us doing that, and might sit down with us and say, you seem to know a lot about maps. And next thing you know, you've got a class on maps. Now there are sudden and gradual, in which teachings and approaches arise. That's caused a lot of kind of, you could say, warfare between the southern school and the northern school in ancient China. And there's stories, the platform scripture of the sixth patriarch that we study every Saturday at 11 in the morning, study as a group, talks about that. It talks about how that whole thing works. It says once basic approaches are distinguished. So once you have an understanding of what that is, then you look at your rules, or your guiding rules for you personally may be different than someone else's. You may function differently. This is something that is quite often missed in the teachings of not really respecting that people's karma is so much different.